So I talked about it. And I mentioned the fact that Kanye said that he molested his cousin.
The rapper claiming to have had an incestual relationship with his cousin until the rapper was 14.
I don't think they understand that I'm not attracted to a man.
Like, I don't want Kanye to tweet. I want Kanye to go get help. If he needs help, he needs to go get help. He's got all the resources. He's had all of the money. He's got all of the access to the best help. Go get help.
Kanye has a history he wants to keep locked up. But Cameron just blew the locks off that door. And Kanye ain't taking it well at all. Now known as Ye, Kanye made a big mistake when talking about his past. He let slip that he found himself in a sexual relationship with his cousin. There are a lot of unanswered questions in that shocking reveal. That's some discomfort that didn't sit right with Cameron, someone who knew Kanye personally. He had to figure out who is the cousin in question. But how did Kanye let something so scandalous fall out of his mouth? The topic came up while he was discussing his early discovery of his mom's erotic magazines. Young and impressionable, Kanye wanted to put some of those printed sex moves into action. The partner he chose was his younger cousin. This isn't a good look for Kanye, but he hasn't been doing well lately. Ye has been on a downward spiral for the longest time. He's been associating with the wrong crowd, saying the wrong things, and crafting a career so toxic that certain brands won't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He's a long way away from his days of mild egotism and being mocked on South Park.
Hey man, I'm a genius, all right? I'm the most talented musician in the world. If I was a homosexual or a fish, I would know.
The truth is that Kanye's story was more of a progressive fall from grace. At first, Kanye's rise wasn't all that different from most rappers. He made a name for himself as a producer of beats for local Chicago talent in the 1990s. Getting to become a rapper was a little trickier for him, though. While he was an in-house producer at Rockefeller Records, the lack of a rapper personality prevented him from landing a deal at Capitol Records. Eventually, a car accident inspired him to write his own songs. Kanye exploded in the 2000s with his albums that became top sellers. While West had made it as a rapper, he had another problem that continues to be his biggest flaw. Kanye's mouth might know how to rap, but it also doesn't know how to stay shut at the right time. Kanye's main issue was that he was outspoken. He wasn't afraid to blurt out anything, and it often got him in trouble. In 2005, he made headlines amid Hurricane Katrina. When addressing the crisis, Kanye took a moment to highlight that then-President George W. Bush doesn't care about black people.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
It was a big deal when Kanye said about the president in 2005. Everybody talked about the statement, and it made headlines. Kanye's words were heard as the most controversial thing to say during such a volatile time. It's almost quaint to look back on it now, given what Kanye's been spitting lately. While Kanye would later apologize for his George Bush statement, this wouldn't be the last time he ran his mouth. In 2013, he spoke out against abortion, citing the 10 Commandments for his disgust. He hasn't backed down much on this claim since. In 2018, he'd brought up how the enslavement of Africans was a good choice. Again, Kanye apologized for this comment, but it only got worse from here. Kanye really started going off the deep end in 2022. He made several anti-Semitic posts on social media that put a sour taste in the mouths of everybody. Particularly, the sponsors were most disgusted with Kane's change in political taste. Sponsors like Vogue, Universal Music Group, and Adidas all spit out Kanye from their contracts. But Ye wasn't going to apologize for these statements. He was already too deep in controversy, and any apologies at this point would seem hollow. This led to Kanye West doubling down and going harder with his openly toxic beliefs. When Kanye went on Alex Jones's InfoWars, he made bigger waves by declaring his love for Adolf Hitler. He didn't dress up the language in code words or dog whistles. There was no misreading his statement, and it was a statement so vulgar that even Alex Jones couldn't defend such wild conspiracies.
I see good things about Hitler also. The Jew, I love everyone. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table. especially Hitler.
Alex Jones was a highly controversial conspiracy theorist who got in major legal trouble for his claims about school shooters. So when that guy is sweating when Ye starts praising Hitler, you know things are really bad. There was no turning back for Kanye now. He took to social media, posting swastikas and denying the Holocaust. Even when he did apologize, it wasn't for the anti-Semitism he was apologizing for. In Kanye's own words, he said black people couldn't be anti-Semitic. All of this is why it wasn't a surprise when Kanye came to the defense of Diddy. When the sexual allegations came up for Sean Diddy Combs, Kanye posted that the arrested rapper should be freed from jail. He managed to do all that while still making Nazis posts. It's pretty shocking how Kanye combined the two terrible topics he defended. But Kanye wasn't done shocking. Not only was he defending a sexual predator, but he also admitted to being one himself. He made a post on X confirming what was being implied with lyrics. His latest song, Cousins, opens with the line, "Hanging out with my cousin reading dirty magazines." Kanye elaborated on the lyrics, stating, "Perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6, and then we acted out what we saw." And as if that weren't clear enough, he clarified in the closing of his post, stating, "My name is Ye and I s***ed my cousin's till I was 14. That's a pretty damning revelation, especially for one that Kanye revealed unprovoked. It begs the question of who this cousin was. Kanye didn't say for sure, but he did describe the history of the family member. He brought up how his cousin killed a pregnant woman and is now serving a life sentence in prison.
My cousin is locked up for murder, and I love him. And so he did a bad thing, but I still love him.
With the molested cousin a mystery, one rapper has decided to investigate. That rapper was Cam'ron, a former collaborator with Kanye West. He and Jim Jones had previously had a beef with Kanye West, but it ended amicably with another collaboration. There's little chance of making up on this issue though. Unlike Kanye, Cam'ron had a background more fit for being a rapper. After being expelled from school, Cam went right into dealing drugs in Harlem. The lifestyle soon led him to pursue a rap career. And what career it was. He got to hook up with such late greats as Notorious B.I.G. and Big L. Cam's rap career was already taking off by the late 90s, while Kanye's was stalling. Cam'ron also grew up to diversify. He dabbled in acting, sports commentary, and fashion with his Dipset USA line. But Cam'ron also had plenty of beefs with some top rap artists. His feuds included Jay-Z, 50 Cent, and Jim Jones. These beefs would cool over time as Cam'ron would patch things up rather well with his peers. Kanye West, however, is another story entirely. Now, Cam is no stranger to Kanye's controversies. He knew that the rapper had a habit of spouting provocative quotes. That didn't mean he looked the other way when Kanye went too far. When Kanye went after Jay-Z and Beyoncé's kids, Cam was disgusted. He spat back, "Why are you mentioning another man's kids? That's not only out of bounds, it's desperate." So when Cam got word that Kanye was posting about having sex with his cousin, Cam wasn't going to let that slide either. In fact, he's going to do some digging.
I'm actually trying to find the cousin. I want to interview the cousin. I'm trying to find, so anybody who knows this cousin that he's talking about and what jail he's in, we're willing to go to the jail to do the interview with the cousin who's been molested during life right now. We're actually on the hunt to find him personally at this personal moment.
In an interview on Talk with Flea, Cam'ron appeared to make a declaration about Kanye's claim. He took note of the clues Kanye dropped and figured the cousin might be worth tracking down. Cam hopes to find this cousin in prison and get a chance to interview him. The man might have something even more despicable to say about Kanye's past. There might even be a correlation between the cousin's prison time and Kanye's sexual experiments on him. But Cam had another issue with Kanye's posting. The timing seemed too convenient and suspicious. The implication of Kanye's admission suggests he's gay as well, but Cam sees this as just another chance for Ye to stir the pot and gain more attention. As Cam stated in the interview, Kanye likely wanted to pose as gay for a while since it's poppin'. After all, there's only so many times Kanye can spout Nazi love until he gets predictable. But even trying to be unpredictable has made Kanye predictable. Cam has been aware of Kanye's many attempts to grab headlines with the most provocative language. And when you know Kanye's tactics, you start to get wise to them. Cam noted how Kanye's been in the public eye for 2 decades. That's long enough for the public to know who this rapper really is. So a declaration of being gay or at least engaging in gay activities reeks of a man desperate for your attention. Cam also showed a healthy dose of skepticism about the rapper's many spectacles. Back in 2023, Cam'ron was interviewed for All the Smoke and called out the rapper's craziness. Cam stated, "Kanye plays crazy with who he wants to play crazy with. He's crazy when it's convenient." But what's more revealing is that Cam claims he's seen Kanye in the past few years as sane. He recalled visiting with Ye in 2021 and seeing nothing crazy about him. According to Cam's experiences, all of Kanye's headline grabbing seemed to be an act. But what if Kanye is telling the truth about his cousin? That's a serious allegation that didn't sit right with Cam'ron. If this was another publicity stunt, it was a desperate one. But if there was truth to it, Kanye could be seen more irredeemable than he already was. Cam has plenty of reason to call out Kanye's claims. Despite being friends, the bad reputation of someone like Kanye makes him toxic, not just for brand deals and collaborations, but for the cities he represents. Cam'ron brought up that both R. Kelly and Kanye West had placed a stain on Chicago for their tarnished careers. Cam'ron let loose on Kanye's bad behavior and how it was doing his hometown no justice. As Cam stated in a video by College Kid, "Y'all putting a stain on a good city, man." You bit back by saying that Chicago loves him and that he loves Cam, but also that he hates Cam, but also that he's scared of Cam, but also not really. There are a lot of mixed messages in that weird response. Should we expect anything less from somebody like Kanye West? Despite Cam's calling out Kanye to do better, nothing much has changed. R. Kelly was already bad news with charges of racketeering, trafficking, and underage pornography. While he's behind bars for a 30-year sentence, Kanye is still out here running his mouth. He is still wearing black attire inspired by the Ku Klux Klan. He's still ranting about his love for Hitler and Nazis, and now he's openly telling everybody about his sexual history with his cousin. That might not technically be illegal given the lack of evidence, but it's still deeply troubling. So, is Kanye West telling the truth about his sexual encounter? Or was this just another for attention? We'll know for sure when Cam'ron manages to track the cousin and get the other side of the story. But ultimately, Kanye seems to be getting exactly what he wanted out of this revelation. He once more grabbed headlines and got people talking about him. But that's a well that won't stay filled forever. You can only declare so many offensive and shocking statements before the bit gets old. Kanye's Nazi posting and cousin sex admissions don't even begin to cover his history of weird claims. One of Kanye's wildest declarations of the past few years was his attempt to run for president. He announced his candidacy in 2020 to run as an independent for the upcoming election. Kanye would run alongside Wyoming preacher Michelle Tidball under the birthday party. No, really, that's the name he chose for his independent political party. The reasoning he stated for this name was that if he won the presidency, it would be everybody's birthday. It makes as much sense as anything else Kanye runs his mouth about. Although there's a lot of speculation about why Kanye made this political move, it's not unreasonable to view it as a publicity stunt. It could have even been an attempt to promote his upcoming music. While Kanye obviously didn't win the 2020 election, that didn't stop him from trying again for 2024. He thought he had a chance if he could convince Donald Trump to be his running mate. Well, that didn't work out for him. But Kanye did take his opportunity to cozy up to Trump. After all, the two have a lot in common. They both make headlines for saying highly shocking and provocative statements, but Trump has also spouted lies in many of his claims. The two were honestly made for each other.
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah.
So, is Kanye also lying? There's a high chance he could be doing just that. This isn't the first time he's made random declarations about his character. He's made claims about being bipolar, but later changed his diagnosis to having autism. He's flip-flopped on his support of Trump, going from praising the president on Twitter to deleting all those tweets amid the travel ban. Everything about Kanye is a cry for attention. It could stem from Kanye just not being that controversial. Sure, he said some nasty things, but he's cleaner than most rappers for not having committed any major crimes. Even his background is cleaner. Rappers like Cam'ron grew up in East Harlem, and R. Kelly lived on the south side of Chicago. While West did move from Atlanta to Chicago, he ultimately ended up in the middle-class suburb of Oak Lawn, Illinois. He'd later moved to Nanjing, China with his mom, and then back to Chicago. Simply put, Kanye wasn't gangster enough for what was being desired out of rappers. He couldn't fall back on a familiar background from when he spent his childhood in the suburbs of Chicago or the streets of China. He was fighting an uphill battle of crafting a personality. This might explain why Kanye keeps changing himself for the public. He could never settle on a name either, going from Kanye West to Yeezus to Yeezy to simply just Yee. The man had to keep shifting his style, beliefs, and associations. He'd do and say anything to stick around in the spotlight for a little bit longer. So when Cameron announced he was going to look into Kanye's cousin claim, Ye got pissed. Think about how damaging it would be if Kanye's lyrics were all a fabrication. Trust was already pretty low with Ye given everything that he said. But what lingering trust he might have with friends will shoot straight through the floor if the cousin's story is a lie. Revealing this lie will prove that Kanye's desperate pleas for attention are not worth taking seriously. And if nobody takes Kanye's ranting seriously, that means no free notoriety. Cameron's investigation could ruin Kanye's whole PR game. But Cameron isn't in the mood for playing games. Not if incestual sexual relationships are the subject of rap songs. Some rappers find ways to grow and give back, but Kanye's got none of that. He's been unable to define himself and relies on his provocative language to maintain his fame. While Kanye hasn't been involved in anything entirely illegal, maybe he wants to. Some rappers get in trouble for murder, extortion, drugging, or sexual harassment. Kanye, however, doesn't make the papers for stuff like that. His name hits the top of trending when he's praising Nazis or speaking out against abortion. It might be the only way Ye can stay relevant without committing a crime. This is why Ye's claims about his cousin are lacking in detail. He can't reveal too much, or he'll be called out for a disgusting act. But he also can't say too little on the subject for fear of not getting enough attention. After all, he's got records to sell and a lack of sponsors to back him.
He's had all of the money. He's got all of the access to the best help. Go get help. Until he does that, everything I see him do and say just seems like a publicity stunt to me.
But Cameron has had it and isn't going to let Ye walk away from this controversy. He's determined to get to the bottom of this troubled relationship, if it even exists. If Kanye's words are the truth, then Ye will be seen as even more disgusting than he already is. But if the cousin's story was a lie, all the rapper's credibility is gone. Neither outcome is going to work in Ye's favor. And that's why Kanye's really scared about Cam's detective work. He's not worried about what Cam may find so much as he's worried about what the investigation itself will imply. No matter what dark secret Cam uncovers, we already know the truth about Kanye. He'll run his mouth and tell tall tales if it means more oxygen from the press. If Cam's investigation reveals anything more, it'll likely be a blunter realization that Kanye is a desperate rapper using desperate tactics. And once the public and press become more wise to Kanye's game, it'll be game over for the rapper who never fully defined himself.